All right, so as we all know, Juneteenth week, and we've got some folks spewing vile, racist rhetoric about the holiday. One of those people is running for Missouri Secretary of State, Valentina Gomez, whose MAGA campaign primarily consisted of homophobic stunts, told Black Americans to get the fuck out if they still want reparations for slavery.
Reparations from slavery and Black victimization is about to be shoved down our throats for the most wretched holiday in America. BLM raised millions, but what did they do for Black lives? It is outrageous to see people asking for reparations even though they never went through slavery. These ungrateful people should be celebrated because they were born in the greatest nation to ever exist. Here's a tip. If you don't like America, kindly get the fuck out.
Okay, a newspaper in Miami, Florida is catching a whole lot of heat after running several pro-Trump political ads filled with racial slurs. So this full-page ad ran on the back cover of the Miami Times' June 13th through 19th print edition, features several uncensored uses of the N-word as well as a misleading quote of President Biden using the slur in 1985. Now, the quote was taken from a 1985 hearing in which then Senator Biden quoted racist remarks made by a state legislator during the redistricting process in Louisiana. At the time, Biden was questioning William Bradford Reynolds, a deputy attorney general nominee who oversaw the redistricting process. I tell ya, Michael, what do you make of this young woman, 4 years old, Valentina Gomez, an immigrant herself? What do you make of all of this that she is doing online, from the gay slurs to the racial slurs to her disposition on how she sees America?
There's so many levels to this right here. Okay, first of all, if she was a few shades darker, she would have to wear a sign at the January 6th insurrection saying I'm one of the good ones, because they may have used those gallows on her. Okay, number one. Number two, this is people have to ask the question, there's a conversation that takes place, and some African Americans say, well, immigrants coming from other countries hate African Americans, or some of them hate African Americans, things like this. And my response to them is partly a response that Malcolm X gave. I think it was probably in 1963 when Malcolm X asked, who taught you to hate the color of your skin, the shape of your nose, the thickness of your lips, et cetera. So the same people who taught people outside the country to hate African Americans are the same people who taught African Americans to hate themselves. Okay, so this is what we have to understand. Now, she's appealing to this MAGA wing of the Republican Party. All right. And she's grossly ignorant of history. She's 25 years old. She's grossly ignorant of history. And if we understand the fight for reparative justice, is not just for 246 years of slavery. It's for the harm that was inflicted after slavery, Jim Crow laws, suppression, theft of land, being locked out of massive land giveaways like the Homestead Act, which gave away 270 million acres of land for 124 years. They gave away land from 1862 to 1974. Okay, I was born in 71. So we're not talking about ancient history. The U.S. government gave away 270 million acres of land for 124 years. African Americans who worked the land largely for free for 246 years were largely locked out of that massive land giveaway. So when we look at the structural inequities that exist today, the 8-to-1 racial wealth gap, it's not because white people worked 8 times harder. It's not because white people are 8 times smarter. It's because the laws and policies maldistributed wealth, power, and resources into their hands. So when we talk about reparative justice, we're not talking about a handout. We're talking about repairing the damage that America did. Okay, so Juneteenth, I just spoke at some Juneteenth celebrations, Motown Museum and Joseph Walker Williams Center, things like this. And one of the things I talk about is how we have to utilize Juneteenth as a tool to educate America on a history that Republicans are passing laws in state legislatures to suppress the teaching of that history in schools. America must have a massive history lesson. And the type of reparative justice laws that we need to get passed, you're really not going to be able to get those laws passed and keep what you get once you get sued to take it away in court. That's a whole nother conversation until America has this lesson. So we have to utilize Juneteenth, not as a party and to get drunk. We can have fun, but we have to have this history lesson and force this conversation.
Kelly, I think one of the sad parts about this is that she's got an audience. They are listening and they're being riled up because they like what she is saying. What is your take on just her whole approach? Again, a young woman who might have family members that, have history that are connected to you and me.
The young is used very, very loosely here because that's a hard-looking 25. Let's start there. And I think it is rooted in something that Emily says a lot, is that hate ages you, right? And I am past 25. I'll be 34 this year. And if I do say so myself, I look better than that. And it's because I don't carry that kind of hate in my heart. Hate truly does age you. But to your point, Candace, about the level of history that she just simply does not know or doesn't want to know, because it's not like the information isn't out there, right? I think we need to reframe how we're looking at people like her, because I don't think they see themselves as Latinx. I think they see themselves as white people who speak Spanish. And there's a difference there. And we see that in our history. Michael, back me up here. When Cubans immigrated here, white passing Cubans immigrated here and assimilated to whiteness. You see it from Europe, Italians who assimilated to whiteness, other Eastern Europeans who assimilated to whiteness upon immigrating here. So I think they see themselves as white people who speak Spanish. And if you look at it from that lens, you at least understand, however loosely, where that rhetoric is truly rooted in whiteness. It's rooted in the fact that I'm not like them because I'm white. I just happen to be bilingual, right? So that's where that's my take on this. Aside from her ignorance of history, aside from the part of her aging like a bad avocado, there are levels to it. But the one that needs to be seen the most is the fact that she does not see herself as a minority.
Matt, what is your take? I mean, this is someone who walked through a neighborhood that was the LGBTIQ neighborhood, saying, listen, don't be gay, be strong. I would imagine that there would be some, especially young white men, who would say, yeah, I don't want to be gay. And yeah, I'll be strong. That's a message that resonates with me. What's your take on what she's doing?
Well, first, I can never, ever pass up the opportunity to say that Michael is much longer in the tooth than I am, so I didn't watch Reggie Jackson play baseball. The event.
But I look younger than you, Matt, though. I look younger than you.
Of that, I was a year old when he was done playing baseball. In any event, Candace, here's my take on it. So, I think they're both right. Both Kelly and Michael are right with all of their commentary. The two things I'll add is, first, one of the gross ironies here is that the country of Colombia actually has a reparations program itself for those who are victims of the violence, the internal conflict there in Colombia. And I think that's important because it comes from a country where they have found a way to implement reparations to some extent. There are some problems with it. It's based in international law. But the larger principle is she literally comes from a country where they have figured it out. Our country doesn't take the time to figure it out because it doesn't care about us enough to figure it out. And two, they always put up policy barriers to have conversations. But I think the bigger issue with this is actually less about the substance of what she's saying and more the fact that she's running for Secretary of State. How is this germane to any of the potential things she intends to do as the Secretary of State, who does not customarily deal with policies like this? They deal with policies, elections, and other matters. I say that to say there is no consequence for hot button political conversation these days that makes people, foment certain hate. And she sees that as a valuable thing here. And that's what she's doing. She's leveraging that. But it would infuriate me if I were a Missourian, because I wouldn't want somebody who's running for office about things that they cannot do in their purview. You only do this because, one, you embody the hate, and two, because you think there is a political benefit to that hate. And that's what you're seeing here. And I think it's absurd that we allow this. It happens everywhere. It happens in every state house. These state legislatures in particular, are trying to co-opt issues that don't even have anything that they would have any control over. And that to me just indicates that she sees that MAGA wing and sees it as level to her ends of getting elected.
As we go to break, I want to end with you, Michael. Just quickly, do you think she has a chance of winning at all?
With her being 25 years old, Secretary of State, I don't know what the landscape is, who the competition is. Probably not, which is probably why she's pulling a stunt like this. She's trying to tap into the white supremacists there in Missouri, which, quiet as it's kept, Missouri stayed loyal to the Union. They were allowed to keep their slaves after the Emancipation Proclamation. They were not a Confederate state. You would think they were, but they were not a Confederate state. But this is, once again, why I say America needs a massive history lesson, because she's dropping a message like this on Juneteenth or right around Juneteenth, trying to tap into this hatred. And this is another example of why, when I delivered my presentation to the Detroit Reparations Task Force on March 2nd, 2024, which is online, people can watch it, I told them, don't put the term reparations on anything that you want to get passed, because it's an automatic trigger for white supremacists, and they will vehemently attack whatever it is that you're trying to get passed.
When COVID happened, poor people were dying at a rate already of 800 people a day. Before COVID, if you went to a funeral every single day, it would take you 600 years to attend all the funerals of the people who will die from the ravages of policy violence, poverty, and low wages in America in just 1 year. It would take you 2 years and 19 days to go to all of the funerals of the people that will die today, and oftentimes silence. Nobody talks about this political genocide, but we are determined today to remember their death and be a resurrection of voting power and voice power like never before.
Economic justice and saving this democracy are deeply connected. We, as a nation, must listen to the demands of the poor, who are pushing and will continue to push political candidates and elected leaders to lift from the bottom so that everybody can rise.
We are the poor, the marginalized, and the underpaid. And we are taking one step forward to say that everybody has a right to live.
Poverty is not the fault of those who are impoverished. It is caused by those who make the policy.
There are over 135 million poor and low-wage, low-income people in this nation.
The biggest block of potential voters by far is low-income, low-wage voters.
I can't afford medicine. Sometimes I have to skip because of the cost.
The farm worker community is tired of the violence imposed upon us by greed, exclusion, and denial of basic human rights.
Those folk that represented by that casket, poor and low-wage workers who are the most moral people in this country because they go to work every day believing, even though going to work is hazardous to their health.
I'm tired of working 70 to 80 hours a week and still not have money for the necessity of bills. I'm tired of getting sick and not being able to go see the doctor. Having to make a choice to pay between rent or the light bill or food or clothes.
You cannot claim to care about families and a culture of life and then do everything in your power to rob people of equal access to resources and to force them to live in poverty.
Leadership of both parties had waged war on poor people and low-wage workers.
And this government has treated people experiencing poverty, including their military families, with disdainful, deliberate, malicious neglect.
So the truth is that my son died from poverty.
We refuse to accept poverty as the fourth leading cause of death.
The fourth leading cause of death in this, the richest country in the world.
We march today for our children and the generations to come.
And we need to do it with the loudest voices possible, the biggest actions possible.
We will voice our demands and register our vote.
When we stand up and when we stand together, things change.
There is the electorate that is, and then there is the electorate that should be.
34 million eligible poor and low-income voters did not vote in 2016. If just 20% of those voters in swing states were mobilized around an agenda, they could change the political outcome of every election. So we're launching the most massive voter mobilization and turnout campaign in history of poor and low-wage voters, allies, and religious leaders.
People are dying, but we know it doesn't have to be this way. And so we are calling on everyone to join us in this Poor People's Campaign, a national call for more revival.
We are here, we will be seen, we will be heard, and our power will be felt. We don't need to be an insurrection. We are a resurrection that will be felt across this country. Are you ready? 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 We are a resurrection, and we are ready.